Thank you. I did this when I was teaching virtually too. I always forgot to record my classes. So we are officially recording now. All right, so I'll introduce myself. I'm Andrew Schmidt. I am a staff member at the Choral Foundation. I am the outgoing director of the New South Festival Singers and the incoming director of the Summer Singers of Atlanta. I have my undergraduate in music education from Northwestern University, and I have my master's in choral conducting from the University of Washington. I was also a Fulbright scholar to Estonia, where I researched choral Estonian music education and toured and sang with the Tallinn Chamber Choir. I'm a professional singer in the Atlanta area and around the country. I sing with groups like Kanara, The Crossing, Esoterics in Seattle, 13 in DC. I've done a couple of recordings here and there, and I currently am the music specialist at a private school in Atlanta where I do K through 12 music. That's a little bit about me. I am thrilled to be joined this evening by Scott Schmidt. So I'll turn it over to Scott real quick to introduce himself, and then we will get on to the task of becoming a better bass.
Hi, everyone. This is Scott Schmidt. I am by day an IT professional, although I've recently retired from IBM after 30 years of service. 30 years of service at IBM is a long time, but this is my 26th year in the Choral Foundation. I started as just a singer, and over the years, I've learned more by studying with everyone that have been full-time staff members or part-time staff members, and I've learned a lot. And I've been frequently a bass section leader as well as a assistant director for summer singers and done some other elements. I have soloed around town. I am not a paid professional singer. I am a singer, an individual who loves to sing and will do it for as long as my voice allows. So I'm glad to be here.
Great, and we're happy to have you, Scott. So if you were with us last week, I had the tall order of trying to get through 7 different habits about being a better choral singer, and it was a mad dash in 45 minutes to get it all done with the Q&A. Tonight, we're going to keep it a little bit simpler, and we've got 4 tenets of good bass singing that we're going to go through, so only 4. Hopefully there'll be plenty of time to ask questions later. The design of this masterclass is to give you plenty of time to sing and try things out yourself at home. If you've not downloaded the music, there is a link that was in the waiting room that people can download. Let me copy and paste that real quick and type that again for our chat if you still need to download the materials. Otherwise, I will be sharing them on my screen. So if you don't have them at home when we sing, they'll be on my screen for you to view as well. Scott and I will both be monitoring the chat. Chances are, unless there is an emergency or anything, we will keep going and wait for a question and answer until the end. All right, so tenet number 1 for becoming a better bass. When we sing bass, the tendency is to have our voice too far back. Our sound sounds like it's too far back in our throat, and we get that wolfy sound. It tends to make us sing flat. It tends to get us a little heavy, a little bit overly dark. And as basses, we need to be the strong fundamental of any chord that we sing. So the first couple of exercises we're going to do are about bringing the voice forward into the mask to have some forward resonance in that. So we are going to sing on an N sound right now. I'm going to play the little vocalese. And you are doing this right. Here's a test you can do at home. While you were singing, do this to your nostrils. We are looking for nasality right now. If you were singing an you should be able to stop and start this sound. You want that sound on that N. That's not where we always sing in our nose, but we're creating forward nasality right now. So let's go ahead and sing that a little bit. Ready, set, here we go. More. Last one. Great. All right. So that is We are going to switch now, this is a little bit more difficult, to an M sound. Your goal is to place that sound, have the same sympathetic resonance in your cheeks. So when you, it won't be as strong because is more nasal than but you're still aiming in the same place. So same exercise, we won't do as many, but just practicing that forward feeling. Ready, set, on M this time. Last one. Great. All right. Last time we're going to do the same vocally. So we're going to switch it to an NG sound. Now, when you sing an NG, your soft palate is in a very high raised position. If you were here last week, the soft palate helps us approach notes from above. It's going to help round out our tone, but it also creates forward placement. We're going to take the exercise down this time. And what I would like you to realize or to try to feel as you're doing this, you don't have to do this anymore. If you're good with this and you feel like you've gotten the right spot, then leave this part alone. What I'd like you to examine is the sense of narrowing and forwardness when I sing. How much point and buzz there is to that sound versus if I sing. And you can tell it's fallen back into my throat, and I've gotten husky, and I've gotten heavy. So what we want to go for is this one. Same as the but you're making this one an NG, so we get that good soft palate lift. Here we go. Ready, set, on NG, go. Narrowing chord. 3 more. Feeling that point at the bottom. Last one. Good. You should get a nice rumble buzz. Versus where it's husky and heavy. The reason the basses must have that pointed forward sound there is that we are the fundamental chord or fundamental note of most chords the choir sings. And if we are not producing a strong enough fundamental, the chance of the rest of the choir tuning that chord are next to zero. The bass has an awesome responsibility in the choir for tuning, balance, and blend. So let's go to our first example. We're gonna go to Pilgrim's Hymn right now and put this exercise into practice. If you don't have Pilgrim's Hymn downloaded, you can use the link in the chat to download it, or I will share it from my screen so you can just look at your screen and follow along that as well. So here is a little bit of Pilgrim's Hymn. Sure, I've got it. All right, so we're looking through this line. Let me play a little bit of it for you so you have your harmonic sense, you know the timing. All right, that's our pulse. Let's look at bass line. Before we try this with tech, and we will do this with text, let's sing it on our NG with that nice soft palate lift, feeling the pointedness through the mask as we descend. Here's on NG. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3. 2, 3, 5, 1. Great. That's as far as we're going on this exercise for right now. So let's go back. Let's try to get on words. And what we're looking for is that buzz. Even before we call What we don't want is a descent to the back of the face and the throat as we descend. So let me model it the way that I don't like my basses when I'm conducting to sound. So here's the incorrect way. And if you're like me, sometimes doing it the incorrect way once helps you feel what not to do. But here's what it sounds like. Even before we call on your name to ask you, oh God. Can you hear how it's low? It sounds like it's in my throat. It sounds husky. It sounds overly dark, and it certainly doesn't sound in tune. Here's the next verse or the next phrase, incorrect. When we seek for the words to glorify you, you hear our prayer. All right, so go ahead and try it whichever way you want. We're gonna do this 2 times through. Do it 2 times through correctly with that forward pinginess, or try it once the wrong way, try it once the right way so you can get that contrast as well. If you need to switch to an NG at any time to remind yourself, go for it, or even start there. Before. You can switch in and out of that NG anytime you want. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, hopefully you had some success in there. We're just gonna do it one more time so you can play around with that. Again, I encourage you and even recommend going in and out of an in and out of an or in and out of an NM or NG to help remind yourself of that buzz and forwardness. Transition in and out to make sure that you are staying on track of keeping the sound forward in the mask and narrowing as you descend. Last time through. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, great. So that is rule 1. If you come to your choir with just that one down, that good thing for being a better bass singer, your conductor will be super happy with you if you got that one down, because you're going to help the tuning of all of the chords by giving that strong fundamental, and you're going to be singing a little bit healthier anyway and producing a nicer sound. All right, so thing number 1, well done. All right, second number thing, and this is the most controversial of all the good tenets of being a bass singer, and I fight male singers from age whenever they're done with puberty to right before they decide to quit my choirs. And that is that we must incorporate the cricothyroid into our singing, which is more or less practicing using our falsetto. Imagine that you are lifting weights and you only ever do bicep curls and you never do anything to work on your tricep. You're gonna have an unbalanced arm, right? You're gonna have super advanced on one part and super atrophied or super undeveloped on the other. The voice works just like that. We have 2 primary muscles in the larynx. We have the cricothyroid and the thyroidorytenoid. We speak predominantly using our thyroidorytenoid. Those are the ones that make our vocal folds come together the most and keep them sort of thick and flabby. That's our chest voice muscle, the thyroidorytenoid. Our cricothyroid is the muscle that lengthens the vocal folds, and it is predominantly incorporated when we use sort of a higher sound and that kind of thing. And so we want to make sure that those muscles are are being treated, oh, we got another person in the waiting room, treated fairly as well. So just for further thing, I brought my home larynx. Of course, this is much bigger than an actual larynx, but let me show you where it is that I'm talking about. So this is your thyroid cartilage, your Adam's apple, right? Especially as bases, we have very prominent Adam's apples, and this is your thyroid cartilage just below it. So in here, whoops, my arytenoids are falling out. There are also cartilages here. These are the arytenoids, and when we sing, you can see the vocal folds come together inside, right? They're opening and closing because these arytenoids are tilting. All right, so there are muscles that run then from the thyroid to the arytenoids and from the cricoid to the thyroid. All right, and this is the muscle between these two things that we want to make sure that we are practicing. So we're going to do a couple of exercises, and these are things that you can do in the shower every day. This is just like a little bit of a gym for your voice. So we're going to do a little bit of falsetto singing. I encourage you to do these on oohs and ohs, because oohs and ohs use the most cricothyroid in your voice. So up in our falsetto, we're just going to do some slides. I encourage you to make them hooty, blowy, round. Ready? Here we go. Last one. It's not the prettiest sound, but it's good exercise for our voice. I had an excellent voice teacher when I was in my early 20s who told me that the presence of the thyroid arytenoid is brightness in our tone. The presence of the cricothyroid is roundness in our tone. And if we want to be the best singers we can be, we need to have both. The Italians call this chiaroscuro. It's a painting term that was devised during the Renaissance. You think of people like Rembrandt, who have great depictions of light and darkness in their paintings. That's chiaroscuro. We have that in the voice as well. If I sing, even before we call on your name, I'm super bright. If I sing, even before we call on your name, I'm super round. So I want to incorporate the roundness into my brightness. Even before we call on your name. And then I get that nice balance to my tone. So here's another exercise. We're just going to sing a singular note. Try to make it as airy, blowy, hooty as possible. So for instance, I'm going to sing, hoo, hoo. I'm just going to throw a lot of air at that sound. Ready? Here we go. And hoo. Let's try it here. And hoo. Try it there. Hoo. For good measure, try a high one. Ready? And hoo. Right? It's hard, right? Try to go, no one's around, I can't hear you, I have no clue what you're doing. So if it sounds terrible, that's fine. I'm happy to be the guinea pig with all the weird sounds. Try it again, ready? And going that airy, blowy sound. And last one, let's try the super low one. And that's hard to get it that low. So you can use the thyroid arytenoid in your falsetto. Listen how bright I can make this sound. I can make my falsetto really bright and obnoxious. There's plenty of thyroid arytenoid. And I can make my chest voice super round. That's using my cricothyroid in my chest voice. So you can do both in either, but one lives better in the other place. So now we're going to try to blend the two. All right, so we're going to take our falsetto. Let's go to our original exercise. We're going to carry that falsetto down. How low can you stay in your falsetto? How light does it need to get? How round does it need to get? How breathy does it need to get for you to stay in your falsetto as low as you can take it? So I'm just going to keep going with you. Here we go. Ready, set, and go. Last one. I probably can't go any lower than that. All right, so let's say we're at G below the staff, or F sharp below the staff. I think most of us can probably make us there. Try that on your falsetto tone. Now, can you add the tiniest amount of thyroid or arytenoid or brightness? But keep that round feeling. It should feel like your falsetto, but using your normal voice. We'll play around with that. Listening for roundness at all times. If you're doing this and getting that strain, your thyroid or arytenoid is taken over. You need your cricothyroid to balance it. Keeping it breathier, keeping it lighter, keeping it rounder. Just do a couple of those. Ready, set, here we go. With practice, there should be no strain. That's an E above middle C. As basses, we need to be able to float up there eventually. When in doubt, just use your falsetto. Switch to my falsetto. I'm not going to hurt anything. I'm not going to strain. My choir director is not going to care, unless I'm supposed to be double forte up there. Right? In which case, you're going to sing a little bit differently anyway. But for choral singing in general, using that mixed voice, using the more cricothyroid is going to help you. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Scott because this is going to blend in perfectly with what he's going to have us work on, which is going to involve the road not taken. So if you've got that one ready to pull out, let's get that. And I'll also be sharing that on my screen too. So if you don't have it downloaded or printed, you can look at my screen too. All right, Scott, take it away.
Great. Now, one of the things I found on the podium and then also within the chorus is bassists sometimes panic when they see any note above the staff. That is like, oh my God, it's above the staff. That's too high. And the reality is, unless the composer or the arranger just hasn't a clue around a bass baritone voice, it's not out of range. It's within your range. It's just a matter of how do you approach it? What do you do to make sure that as you're going from the middle of your range, the lowest part of your range, or bottom of your range, to the top of your range, how do you keep those voices together? So part of it is maintaining that discipline around proper singing posture, as well as proper breath support. If your core is loose and you're not supporting it, and you're just letting all the air out, as we did the earlier exercise where it's, if all the air is going out at the same time, you're never going to have a chance at it. I was talking to Andrew earlier. There are times in my career with the Festival Singers and the Choral Foundation where I've been assigned a solo that scared me to death. And I went, one summer, we were doing a piece that has traditionally been performed by a soprano as a solo. And Dr. Baker asked me to do it. And I thought, there's no way there's an A flat in there. That's the absolute top of my range. I don't know that I'll ever be able to hit it in public. The truth is, it's at the top of my range, but it's within my range. So the singing above the staff, first, as you practice by yourself, or if you practice with a voice teacher, explore where your range really is. It's almost always, you know you can't go below your range because there's just nothing there. You're going to be in your vocal fry. You can't get lower than you can ever possibly sing. But with falsetto or mixed register, you can go above. There have been times in auditions where we're singing 4 parts and we didn't have an alto or a tenor, so I would just do bass, tenor, or alto, whatever was needed to fill in the quartet. And it's just a matter of understanding support and breath, as well as just singing. So let's go to The Road Not Taken. And because this one's the one where you kind of go middle, low range, and you go well above. Now, Andrew, are you going to play, are you just going to start right there, or how many before we're going to get it?
I'm going to give you 1, 2, 3, and then 2 roads.
Okay.
You want to just sing it once through, just and
Sure.
just exit? All right, here we go.
Sure.
1, 2, 3.
Two horse divers in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel alone, and be one traveler long I stood, and looked on one as far as I could, to where it bent in the So what I was trying to do there is not having any difference between the resonance and the timbre in the middle range to the top range. Now, if I were to try and do it really straying and pushy, let's just go to the B1 Traveler, Andrew. So let's see, to do it that way would be 1, 2, 3, and be one traveler long I stood. I mean, it just doesn't work. Or if I do too breathy, and be one traveler, again, that doesn't work. So what you're wanting to do is support it, breathe, and then also keep the top, middle, and bottom of your register tone the same, and learn what that means for you. One of my pet peeves with singers is where you hear someone doing all chest voice, and all of a sudden they're very head voice and hooty, and then they go back to chest voice. And it's like you're listening to two different singers, or sometimes 3. So if you have to do falsetto, so if you have to go, and be one traveler long I stood, so be it. Or if you have to be that, then keep that same timbre to go down, and looked on one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Even though you've got the ability to go, oh, you don't need to. Think about who's singing. If there's one person singing, then the voice at the top, middle, and bottom has got to be as close to the same timbre as is called for by the music. And always you let the music inform what it is how you're going to approach it. Because if you take this Thompson piece and you put it the same way and the same timbre and tone as a gospel piece or a jazz piece or a German piece, it doesn't work either. So always let the music tell you what it is you should be doing and how you should take it.
Scott, do you have a go-to
Andrew, you want to have
to help you sing in that unified voice up high? Oh, I don't know if it's me that paused. Booted. All right.
That's okay.
Sorry, Scott. I was just wondering, do you have a vocal exercise that helps you use that unified voice and get up above the staff?
I do a lot of, if I'm working on high ranges, I'll do a lot of arpeggios. Just on an E.
So go ahead.
Depending on what I'm doing, is I may do give myself that flexibility. But then when you're getting, and just go not as high as you can go, but just keeping it as high as you can go comfortably. And then the other approach you can do with it is, well, that was full voice. Maybe go and try and keep as soft as you can while you're going high. Because when you're singing high, it's easy, as you just showed earlier, to blast it out and just sing as loud as you can. It's harder, but it takes more control and more finesse, but it gives you a little more, gives a lot more quality to your tone if you also try and practice it soft voice. So let's just go ahead and do that going up by half steps, and we'll just do one turn. So,
yeah, great. So just because I'm a visual person, sort of translate what Scott's saying, our voice is shaped like this. As we go to the bottom of our range, our voice wants to open up. Towards the bottom of the staff is when we use most narrow, which is what we practiced in our first exercise. We use those ns and ns to narrow as we go down. And then as we go up, where Scott's talking above the staff, our voice wants to open up again. Wide versus and gets too narrow. I mean, of course, you can sing an E up high when you practice, but our voice wants to open up, which is why he's suggesting that we do something like to open up. And widen, open up the voice as you come back down. So here we go. 2, 3, 4. Sorry, wrong key.
I'm gonna pick a pace bed.
Sorry.
And so you notice at the top, I was getting a little falsetto. I could have increased the volume and kept it in chest voice, but I chose not to. And just a second, I noticed I did not have the overhead light on, and it's getting dark in the room. So let me go turn the light on real quick.
All right, as he's doing that, let's go back to The Road Not Taken, and we're going to sing this, and you're going to gauge on your own what sort of vowels to use. Now, you can just sing the regular words if you want, and think about opening as you go towards the top. But if you want to, you could sing E's and Oo's towards the bottom notes. You could sing O's and E's in the middle. You could sing Ah's and O's as you go to the top. Or you can just think about the words. Oftentimes, really good composers will put open vowels on the top and narrow vowels on the bottom. You know that that composer's a good singer when they set text like that. So let's go back to The Road Not Taken and give you a crack at putting some of this into play. Here we go. So we start narrow because it's lower in our range. Two roads. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Now opening up towards ah. Think about ah. And narrow. Let's give you a chance to try that one more time. Try something different. If that didn't work for you this time, try going louder. Try using the exercise and floating it. When in doubt, use your falsetto. When in doubt, right? Because your conductor would rather have you use your falsetto than strain or scream or push at the top. But with practice, you can get that blended voice. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Opening up. Well done. All right, thank you, Scott. On to our last tenet of being a good bass. And this is one that is a pet peeve of mine as a conductor and as a singer. Basses and baritones, when we split, what we sing most often are perfect fifths. And we hardly ever sing them in tune. And it's real disappointing. And honestly, it's usually the baritone's fault. And I'll say that because I'm a bass too. But I'll be baritone tonight, and Scott's going to be bass too, so I can be in the hot seat and be the one responsible for tuning. The thing to remember is that fifths are wide intervals when we sing them and we try to tune them. So if I sing do, re, mi, fa, sol, hear how low I am. Do, re, mi, fa, sol. And I want to stretch that fifth as high as I can. We also want to make sure that we have that forward sound. I'm impacting the fundamental. So there's a strong fundamental there to tune. We're going to try, Scott and I, to sing at the same time. Who knows over Zoom if this will work. This is why we're doing it last, because we might just have to give up on it. But we're going to do our best. And so he'll make sure he's got a strong fundamental bass 2 note. I'll make sure that I do my good in tune fifth. And we'll show you some in tune singing, some out of tune singing, and then have you pick your part on Pilgrim's Hymn and make it work. So let's all look at Pilgrim's Hymn. We're going to go on from where we were before. Make sure I've got it up on my screen. So we are starting in measure 14. If you're looking along there, you can see that the tenors and basses is split into 4 parts, and we've got our perfect fifth right there that goes into a major second, then back into a perfect fifth. So if you would sing this note, how about let's just do it on an E right now, because E's are going to tune pretty well. So Scott's going to sing his notes, E. I'm going to sing my notes, E. And I'm going to play around with where I put the placement of my sound to show you how placement affects it. And I'm going to do a little bit of higher and lower and stretching and lowering that fit as well. This is an experiment. He and I tried it out before the Zoom session started, and we could hear it, but we don't know if you'll be able to hear it. So here we go. So Scott, whenever you're ready, whenever you want, Scott.
Sorry if you're hearing the whining, that's one of the dogs being vocal.
All right, great.
So I'm ready whenever you are.
Yep, there's your note. I'll just join you. I'll join you. You start and I'll join you.
Okay, got it. I'm not sure. Are you hearing us both at the same time? I'm not sure.
I'm hearing you, kind of.
Okay, good.
I can hear you enough that I can kind of tune. We'll keep experimenting. All right, here we go. Perhaps. Let's try another way. I will keep playing. Let me see if I can do it both on my end, since I've got the piano here. I'm just going to keep playing the low note, and I'll a cappella sing the fifth and play around with that. So here's the low note. Is that easier to hear, or is it scratchy? Scott?
I can hear you. I think that's easier to hear.
All right.
Okay. Because you can control the volume on your side.
All right, great. So
we're not hearing. Excuse me, we're not hearing both of you at the same time, though.
Gotcha.
I didn't think so.
If I play piano and sing it myself, are you able to hear both my piano and my voice? If I do that?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll do it that way rather than Scott and I doing it. I'll sing with myself for a moment. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you for chiming in and letting me know that works or didn't work. All right, so I'll start off singing in tune. I'm going to use that forward buzzy sound. I'll even start on my n. To tune. Now, if I put the sound back and down, as basses are wont to do, this is what it's going to sound like. You can hear how it's not quite in tune. I didn't change the note, I just changed not putting it forward. Here is if I sing it too low. That's just unsupported, that's not using enough energy. So I need to make that fifth high. All right, so we're gonna go through here. Let me play each part for you. You can choose if you want to be a bass 1 or a bass 2. There's one measure that's kind of tricky, and I'll say I have recorded this piece a number of times, and I don't think I've ever sung it right in a recording, singing bass 2, but whatever, that's neither here nor there. You'll do just fine. So here's the bass 2 part if you're going to be a bass 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Unceasing love, oh, unceasing love, surpassing all we know. Here's one more time. 1, 2, ready, bass 2. If you are singing bass 1, here's your part. 2, 3, 4. Unceasing love, oh, unceasing love, surpassing all we know. If you're practicing bass 1 right now, hopefully you're thinking forward and you're thinking high. One more time. Ready, set, bass 1s go. Unceasing love, oh, unceasing love, surpassing all we know. Here are both parts, listening to see if you are hopefully in tune with either part. Now it's going to be forced tuning because you're going to be both on the piano. You're going to hear the piano on both parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, no, and no, and no, not no. All right, last time, then we'll go into some Q&A. 1, 2, here we go. I apologize, I played a wrong bass 2 note that last time through, so my apologies on that. All right, so we saved that one to the end because we weren't quite sure if it was going to work 2 parts over Zoom. So if that one was not a good check for you, then I apologize for that. It was sort of experimental on our end. We do have a little bit of time here. If you'd like to throw in some questions on the chat. If you need to log off now, that's okay too, but Scott and I will stick around for any questions you have. We really want to thank you for taking the time. Hopefully you got something out of this. I need to put one thing before you leave into the chat. It is a link to a survey that we would invite you to fill out about this session and the previous 2, if you made it to the other 2. If you didn't make it to those, then you can just skip that part of the survey. We want to know how we're doing. We've got 3 more of these left this summer, and so if we need to make some huge changes, we have time to do that. And we'd just like to know what sort of things that you would like if we were to do this again, or how we can do better at this. So I'm going to find that link. If Scott, you want to go ahead and start looking at questions, and either if you have the answer or I can chime in while I get this link for everybody else.
Sure. I'll start with David's question. It says, I have difficulty going into falsetto as I get older. Any suggestions on how to do that as the voice as we age? Because the voice does change throughout life. Yes,
make noises. So you don't speak and sing with a different voice, and you don't show joy or sorrow with a different voice than you sing with. So if you can go woohoo or whoa or wow, some sort of high-pitched thing, that would be a great way to practice making those falsetto sounds.
Yeah, another thing I notice is, and this, it all depends on. Right now, we're all staying at home mostly, but when I'm doing more cardio, I've got better support for my middle and upper range. So sometimes as we get older, we don't stay as physically active from a cardio perspective, and maybe doing some, if you can introduce some exercise in that may also give you a different ability to manage your breath as you're going to the top of your range. That's just something for anybody. But I mean, obviously, as we all get older, we do slow down, and there's no way around that.
Yeah.
So, Andrew, another question, and I think I'll link these two parts together, is asking about 20th and 21st century lit. Do we assume a temperament difference from earlier literature? And then the follow-on question is, especially chords with 7th, 9th, 11th, 13th, etc.
Yeah, great. So yes and no would be the answer. And I am not a super expert on tuning. It was covered to some detail in courses I took during my master's, but a lot of my understanding of tuning has to do with the different ensembles I sing with. Some are early music ensembles, and some are modern ensembles. And what I've noticed is that in a cappella, singers tend to want to sing equal temperament. Or sorry, just intonation. So fifths are wide, thirds are low, or major thirds are low, minor thirds are high. Octaves are wide as well. If that doesn't mean anything to you, then that's okay. But when a cappella, we tend to want to sing in just intonation. Now, for 20th century compositions and 21st century compositions, they are composed either at the piano, using digital software. All of these things use equal temperament. And so the composer in their mind has equal temperament. And so you're gonna try to, with that choir, use more equal temperament when you sing. I think that if you have to make a decision with your choir, go towards equal temperament, which means you're gonna be rehearsing with the piano more often because the voice wants to gravitate towards just intonation. That's just how voices work. We use more of the natural harmonic series when we sing, and that natural harmonic series lends itself to just intonation better than it does equal temperament. But the more choirs sing with the piano, the more our ears get used to equal temperament. And for those jazz chords or those 9ths, 11ths, and 13ths, then the equal temperament kicks in. That's my best understanding. I'm sure there's a scholar out there who would tell me that I'm full of bull.
I think in general, as you look at what you're doing to be an excellent musician, no matter what you do, I don't differentiate between singers and musicians as some people do. You hear the joke about singers and musicians and singers. You listen to what you're singing, who you're singing with, and who you're singing to, and if that means and where you're singing. So if that space says you have to make some adjustments, you make the adjustments. If there's a reason why it's not working for everyone together and changing it makes it work better, music's alive, and let it live and go to what that is doing for you at that time. As long as you're all going together, you'll be fine.
Yeah, and to tie in a little bit more to what we talked about as far as our good habits go, the stronger the fundamentals that your singers are producing for you, so having that more forward tone, the more as a listener or as a conductor you can ask them to adjust their tuning. You cannot adjust a chord that isn't close to being in tune, because you have some singers who are super far back, some singers who are too far forward into their nasality, some singers that are singing with a breathy voice, some singers that are singing with a fully on aggressive voice. So there's a lot of factors that go into it, but if everybody can agree that we're gonna sing E and not then you got a fighting chance of being that chord being in tune.
Another technique.
Jamia put in the link in her email. I'll double check with her to make sure she is. Jamia is always 5 steps ahead of me when it comes to that stuff. So, but I'll poke her. Fred, thank you for that suggestion.
Yeah. Another thing I've noticed, if you've got the keyboard skills, or if your rehearsal time allows you to, if you're doing pieces with 7th, 9th, and really odd intervals, play the interval above or below what you're singing, and then sing your note, and then play with the tuning on that. Because especially if you're at the keyboard, you can tune around. As you heard Andrew earlier, when he was playing the bass line and singing the baritone line, that's a way to really understand how it fits within. And in some pieces, it will be slightly different. But that's just the beauty of singing music live and not the recording, because it will never, ever be the same every time.
All right. Any other questions? Feel free to type them into the chat. We'll certainly hang around for a little bit. Otherwise, once again, thank you so much for joining us. And if you take time to fill out the survey, let us know how we did. Next week, The session is on bringing your individual artistry into the choral rehearsal. Oftentimes we are meant to feel like just a cog in the wheel, and next week's presentation is about how you can feel like a really fancy cog in that wheel. And you can bring your individual artistry, your humanness, your spirit, your soul, your expertise, your viewpoint into that choir, and feel more like a part of what's going on than just one of the cogs. That's next week. Scott, anything, any final words for folks before we sign off in a minute or so?
I think that's great. Just any other questions you've got, I mean, just feel free to ask them, and if we can answer them, we will.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Yep, of course, our pleasure, Singing bass is fun, but it's a lot of responsibility as well. So keep those chops going and exercise the voice. Use sing in your falsetto, guys. It's like if you only ever use your quadriceps and never your hamstring. Our muscles are meant to work in opposition, and so we don't want to have one that we never use.
I appreciated the musical dog there, Scott.
Oh yeah, that's right now she's under the table because she's too far away from me.
Okay.
It's what happens when you have basset hounds.
Yeah, is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Quite welcome. Thank you.
So we are going to sign off then. Thank you all so much for being here, and hopefully we'll see you again next week and at further masterclasses. Take care.
A wonderful week.
Wonderful week.